friends, now we are ready to start coloring in our cakes. Now we're not just going to color them one solid color. We want our cakes to look more realistic. Now that we've done our cakes in perspective, let's take it to the next level and do some shading on our cakes. Now when we do our shading, we want to talk about value. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color as it has to do with the addition of white or black. Not with mixing colors, but we are going to be using colors. Now, when we add colors, we can use tints and shade. A tint is a color. It's a color which white has been added to it to make it lighter. Makes sense. If I mix white into color, it's going to make that color lighter. A shade is a color which black has been added to it to make it darker. Also makes sense. If we add black to a color, it's going to make it darker. Now, we're not going to be mixing colors today, but I want you to know those terms so that when we do learn how to mix colors, you will know. Now, instead, we're going to talk about highlights and shadows. Highlights is going to be the brightest part of your object, where the light is hitting it the most, so it's going to be your lightest color. The shadow is going to be the part of the object that is the darkest, so that's going to be on the side. So when you see I've organized my colors in my crayon box, crayons and colored pencils work the best for this because we're going to be blending these colors so it looks like a smooth transition. Markers don't work as well because they just don't blend as well as these do. So you can see I have put together some little color combinations. I have carnation pink, red violet, and violet red. That's one combination there. I have yellow green, or green yellow, yellow green, and green, orange, red orange, and scarlet. I have blue green, blue, and indigo. So these colors are going to be a lighter color and darker color. I highly recommend testing out your colors before you actually use them to see which colors blend the best. So maybe have a little test paper. This is going to be my test paper here, just to show you some of these color combinations. And then we'll get started on our final, since we did finish coloring in, or we did finish drawing our cakes. So now let's look at these cylinders. When we look at a cylinder and the shading, it's going to be darkest on the outside. As we get closer to the middle, it's going to get lighter. The top of the cake is going to be light as well because that's where your light source is coming from, either the sun or a light from above. So I'm going to start with my darkest color, which is going to be violet red, okay? And so I'm going to start at the edges of my cylinder, and I'm going to color with that darkest color. Again, I would definitely test these out before you actually use them, just to make sure that they are dark. Sometimes how they look on the crayon is different how they turn out when you color it. So I'm going to use my darkest color here on the sides. Alright, now I'm going to use my medium color, which is violet red. And you can see it is lighter than that last color. Okay. Now as I'm coloring, I'm making sure I'm leaving space in the center of my cylinder because that's going to be my lightest color. Now I'm noticing that these two colors aren't blending as well as I would like. So when I do this, I'm actually going to go back with that darker color. I don't want it to look like stripes. So I'm going to go back with that darker color, and I'm going to color on top of each other, trying to blend the two together. So I'm kind of mixing a new color in between. That looks much better. Do the same thing on this side. You have to overlap those colors and mix them. I wouldn't recommend pressing really hard because this does blend a lot better when those colors are lighter. Just going to bring this out a little bit more. And then I'm going to go in with my lightest color, which is carnation pink. And you can see that's much lighter in the middle too. This would be the spot where we'd be mixing the white to our color to make it lighter. And then again, I'm going to go back over. I always go back over, just pressing nice and lightly, blending those two together so that it doesn't look like stripes. We really, really don't want it to look like stripes. We want them to blend together. Fantastic. And then the top of my cylinder, of course, is going to be that latest color, that carnation pink. Now, if you are someone that doesn't have all of these colors to use, you can also use one color or even two and just press harder and lighter to get your colors too. So say I'm using my red violet and I'm pressing really hard on the sides. As I get closer to the middle, you can press lighter to create lighter and darker shades as well. Okay, so you could do something like that also. Okay. So now I'm going to try another color combination just to show you the difference. Okay. So now I think I'm going to use some green, and again, make your cake a fun color, whatever color you want. Now again, you notice these cakes don't have any decorations, so I'm just coloring the cylinder. If you have decorations, you're going to be going around those decorations as you do your shading. You can do more shading on your decorations as well, but you don't have to. So I'm starting with my darkest green on the sides. Again, I don't want to press too hard. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my yellow-green. Again, I want to overlap these colors. Remember, we don't want them to look like stripes. So I'm definitely going to go back with that darker green. Very lightly blend the two together, almost creating another green in between by blending the two together really nice and lightly. Beautiful. Now again, I'm going to go in a little bit farther with that yellow-green, and then I'm going to use my green-yellow, which is even lighter. It looks like yellow to me. That's my lightest color in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to go back over with that medium color that I have and just blend the two together. And again, I'm going to take my lightest color and color in the top of my cake here. Okay. Now, if you have a stacked cylinder cake, you would color each cylinder like this, but remember, if this cylinder is sitting on top of another, it's going to create a little bit of a shadow here as well. So when you're coloring them, whatever color your bottom cylinder is, you want to put a little bit of a shadow right underneath. And I'm going to show you that when we do our cake stand here. So let me do another color combination just to show you what you can do. Why don't we'll do an orange cake. Again, I'm going to use my darkest orange, which is scarlet. Okay, remember, don't press too hard. So you want to be able to blend them. You can press hard around the outside edge and then get lighter when you go into the middle, just to get an even darker color here. Now I'm going to use my red-orange as my next color. And again, coloring on top of one another to blend the two. I'm sorry, my colors do not show up quite the same on my camera. These look more different in person than they do on the camera. And in the middle is going to be my just regular orange. It looks like the lightest. Again, I want to take that red-orange, blend that line a little bit because no stripes. I'm going to take my lightest color on top. Okay, so now when you're coloring in your cake stand here, what you want to do is you want to pick what color your cake stand is going to be. I'm going to make mine gray or silver. and I'm going to color it in, pressing nice and light. Again, colored pencils work really well for this too, so if you have colored pencils. And then I'm going to take my black just around the base of the cake. Black is going to be my darker version of gray. If you're going to use a purple, you're going to use a darker purple, blue, use a darker blue for this, or you could even use black for the shadow as well. So I'm going to make a little dark shadow underneath my cake and just bring it out a little bit, pressing lighter. So again, darkest, closest to the bottom of the cake, lighter as it goes out. Okay? And guess what? There's going to be a shadow underneath here too, because this is the stand. It's underneath that platter that's there. So again, we're going to make a nice dark shadow here. Make that shadow go up the one side. Okay. All right, and that is our cake stand with that shading. Beautiful. And so just like you'd have a stack cake, you're going to have a shadow underneath there as well. Now for your candle, we're going to do shading too. Now it's a little bit easier. We only have to use 2 colors for that. So I am going to start by making my candle all purple. Okay. On top here too. And then I'm going to take my darker, it's called blue violet, and I'm going to make a shadow on one side, just on one side, pressing nice and hard. You see how that's a little bit darker? And then I'm going to press a little lighter in the middle so it blends together really nicely. Then I'm going to take my black and I'm going to make the wick in here too. Again, if you want to add a little bit of a pattern on here too, if you have a dark color, you can always take your black crayon and draw that pattern, or with whatever color if it's a lighter color too. Okay, I'm going to draw that wick. And then for the flame, we're going to be doing some blending as well. We're going to start with the yellow in the middle, and then the orange around the outside. And again, you can kind of blend them together. I know it's a small space. So yellow in the middle, our lighter, and our darker. And again, you can do that with any color, lighter or darker, or again, you can just use the same color, press harder, and then get lighter for your highlight. So your shadow's darker than your highlight. You can also do that. Okay? Now for your decorations, you can do a little bit of shading here and there if you want, or you can just color it one solid color. Don't worry about it too much, and also your background. So I've already started my cake, and again I used that red violet, violet red, and carnation pink for mine. So it's my darkest color, and it gets lighter in the middle. Now because I have a slice missing, it's going to stop and then start on the other side. Okay? Now the inside is going to have shading too. I know, so much shading. And also remember the top is going to be that lightest color. I'm not going to color my entire cake just for time so that you don't have to sit through this whole entire thing, but I will have a picture of it finished for you to look at as well. So now I'm going to decide what my layers are. I'm going to do each layer a different color, maybe a pattern. Maybe I'll do yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green all the way down. Pick some fun colors. I've had students do like a whole rainbow all the way down, so you get to pick what you'd like to do for those. So I'm going to start with my yellow. So the lightest color yellow that you have, or lightest color that you're using, should be on the outside, okay? As you get closer to the inside, your color is going to get darker. We're just going to use 2 colors. I'm going to use yellow, and I'll use yellow-orange. Okay, and I'm just going to go over top of my yellow, and the closer it is to the inside of that slice, the darker it's going to get. If you want to use 3 colors, you're more than welcome. Or you could even just press harder with your colors. Okay, so it's dark and then fades to light on the outside. Okay. All right. Our next color that we're going to use is going to be green. Again, I'm going to use that yellow-green. I'm going to color it about halfway. And then I'm going to take my darker green. And I'm going to blend the two together. So again, darkest color closest to the inside, lighter as you go out. Now if it's a slice in the middle, you're going to have darkest on the inside and lighter as they go out on both sides. Okay? And again, I would keep going with that pattern, doing yellow, green, as I go down. Okay? Remember what we said about the cake stand too? On my cake stand, whatever I color, I'm going to have a little shadow there. But also, real quick, let's do the top of the cake, because guess what? Our candles are going to cast a shadow too. So I'm going to color the top of my cake that lightest color pink that I used. Okay, and my candles are going to cast a shadow. You could decide where your light source is coming from and pick a side that you want your shadow to be on. You guys, my paper is really bright right now. Let's see if I can adjust my, there we go. See it a little bit better. Now I'm going to take that red-violet color and I'm going to, or I'm sorry, violet-red, and I'm going to do a little bit of a shadow behind my candles. So it looks like your candle's casting a shadow on the top of your cake as well. Okay? And of course I would add some shading to my candles, make that flame there, and color it in. Now for the detail on my cake, I think I might want to leave that white, like white icing. If you want to go in and kind of trace it with a black crayon, you can, just to get some of that detail back in there. Just so I can see that. Again, I do have it at the bottom as well. Okay. And maybe, if you have time, you can even go in and maybe create a little shadow at the bottom of your icing here with that gray. Almost like a shadow on a cloud here. But again, if you're going to do this a different color, you can just pick a darker color or press nice and hard. It's up to you. If you feel like your cake needs a little bit of a boost and an outline around the outside edge, you can go in with that black crayon or colored pencil and kind of trace that just so that it really pops. And then when you're done, if you have time, you can always color in the background whatever color you want. Have fun with this. Practice your shading. It's okay if everything isn't shaded, and enjoy your beautiful, colorful cakes.